Welcome to This Day in His Story, created by American Heritage Worldwide, a reminder that every day holds something new to learn. Did you know that in 1589, William Lee invented a machine that made socks 6 times faster than knitting them by hand? Unfortunately, Queen Elizabeth I refused him a patent because his stockings were too coarse for her royal ankles. Join us as we explore the changing fashion of wearing socks, from personal to military use. Learn the important role of a dog in searching for the lost sock and discover the unique relationship of a perfectly matched pair of socks that have managed to stay together throughout the years.
So, I was doing something just completely mundane the other day, folding laundry, and it just hit me. The simple sock.
Right.
It's this thing we deal with every single day, but we never really think about its story. How did this little foot covering become such a huge deal?
It's a great question. And that's exactly what we're going to get into in this deep dive.
Okay.
We've got this amazing set of sources that really traces the whole journey of the sock. I mean, from its earliest form as just matted hair, all the way to being a status symbol, and even a trigger for an industrial standoff.
So we're kind of pulling the thread on the sock's entire history.
Exactly. And the story, it really starts with the name itself, the etymology.
I love that.
Yeah, so the word sock comes from an Old English word, sock, which basically meant light slipper.
It's a light slipper, okay.
But even that comes from the Latin word soccus. And a soccus was this light, low-heeled shoe that Roman actors, specifically comic actors, wore on stage.
Huh. So its origin isn't even about keeping your feet warm. It's theatrical.
Theatrical and light, yeah.
Yeah.
Not purely about function, at least not at first.
Okay, let's unpack that. So if the word originally meant a kind of shoe, what were the absolute first, proto-socks made of before we had actual textiles?
The sources are pretty clear on this. In ancient times, it was all about function.
Mm-hmm.
The first socks were, they were incredibly rough.
Right.
They were made from animal skins or even matted animal hair. You just wrapped around your foot and tie it at the ankle.
Just for protection.
Purely for protection.
Heck yeah.
Against cold, rocks, that sort of thing.
So it's completely utilitarian. At what point does that change? When does it go from being a necessity to like a luxury item?
That happened surprisingly early. The sources say that by 1000, just owning and wearing socks was a sign of nobility.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it meant you had the wealth, the resources to have someone craft them and, maintain them. It was a big deal.
And then as we get into the Middle Ages, they get even more elaborate. We start seeing the puttee.
The puttee, yeah.
Yeah.
These bright, very visible garments that covered the lower leg.
So we're moving way beyond protection now. This is fashion.
It's definitely fashion.
Yeah.
But it still has that dual purpose. The puttee was wound really tightly, so it gave you support. It also protected your legs from, branches or snakes when you were traveling.
What's so interesting to me is that direct line to military history. That word puttee, it carries right through to, World War I.
It does.
You see those old photos of U.S. Army infantrymen, and they're wearing those dark-colored puttees wrapped around their legs.
Exactly. The accessory of a medieval noble becomes essential battlefield gear centuries later.
That's incredible.
That mix of utility and style is really the story of the sock. But the real game-changing moment, the thing that took it from a niche item to something for the masses, that happens in the late 1500s.
Okay, the 1589 breakthrough. This is the invention that should have made one man rich, but almost ruined him. We're talking about William Lee.
William Lee. He was an English clergyman, and in 1589, he invents the first mechanical knitting machine.
And this wasn't just a small improvement.
Not at all. This was revolutionary. His machine could make hosiery 6 times faster than even the most skilled person knitting by hand.
And here's where it gets really good, because this massive technological leap just slams into a wall of institutional resistance.
It really does.
The conflict with Queen Elizabeth I is like a perfect case study in how the politics of labor can just stop innovation in its tracks.
It is a stunning moment. So Lee goes to the Queen for a patent, and she looks at a pair of black wool stockings he made on the machine, and she just turns him down.
And she had 2 very specific reasons.
2 very powerful objections. The first was basically a quality control issue. She said the wool was too coarse for her royal ankles.
Right, she preferred the handmade stuff.
Exactly.
Oh.
But the second objection, that was the one with huge economic implications.
There were jobs.
The jobs. She was terrified that this one machine would eliminate the livelihoods of thousands of English hand knitters. It's an early form of what we now call, Luddism.
So she's prioritizing social stability over efficiency.
She is. And it's this powerful reminder that an invention's success isn't just about how good it is. It needs the right environment. England shut the door on him.
But France didn't.
France saw the opportunity. King Henry I saw the long-term potential. He actually supported Lee, helped him set up a stocking factory in Rouen.
And from there, the invention just spread across Europe.
It did. And what's so fascinating is that the core mechanism he invented, using hundreds of hooked needles moving together mechanically, that's still the basic principle behind modern textile machinery today.
That's incredible. So every single pair of mass-produced socks we own is a direct descendant of this 16th century clergyman's machine.
In a very real way, yes.
So let's go back to materials for a second, because before this mass production, the material you wore was a dead giveaway of your social class.
Oh, absolutely. It defined your place in the world. For the nobility, it was all about colored silk.
Which was incredibly expensive and difficult to work with by hand.
Right. It was a symbol of pure luxury. Meanwhile, almost everyone else was wearing socks made of tough, rugged wool.
But then the Industrial Revolution kicks in, and Lee's machine gets, supercharged.
And suddenly socks become much cheaper and easier to make. And the fashion and the necessity of wearing them spreads across all of European society.
Which sets the stage for the next big leap in the 20th century. We move beyond natural fibers into synthetics.
The 1900s bring us materials like polyester and acrylic. They were more durable, cheaper. But the real game changer was spandex.
Right. Spandex.
It didn't just add stretch. It fundamentally changed what a sock could do. It enabled performance.
What do you mean by performance? Like beyond just fitting better?
It allowed for consistent compression. That elasticity meant the sock could hold its shape and apply gentle pressure. This led to athletic socks that could manage moisture-pulling sweat away from the skin and provide actual structural support. The sock became a piece of equipment.
So you've got this evolution from matted hair, which is just for warmth, to silk, which is for status, to spandex, which is for engineered performance.
Exactly. The sock is a perfect little microcosm of industrial and material history.
And it's become so ingrained in our culture that it actually has its own holidays, or two of them.
Two of them, yeah, which I think reflects the whole emotional roller coaster of owning socks.
Huh. Okay, what are they?
First, you have National Sock Day on December 4th. That's the happy one. It celebrates, and I quote, the unique relationship of a perfectly matched pair.
The ultimate laundry victory.
And then you have the more somber occasion, National Lost Sock Memorial Day on May 9th.
Oh, no.
That's the day to formally say goodbye to all those single socks that have gone to washing machine heaven.
I feel like I should be observing that one more often. And National Sock Day actually has a founder, right? It's tied to a company.
It is. It was founded in 2014 by the guys who started the company, Pair of Thieves. Alan Stewart, Cash Warren, and David Ehrenberg.
And they built in this really powerful charitable angle.
They did, and this is where the sock becomes really important in a modern context. Socks are the single most requested item of clothing in homeless shelters.
Wow, the most requested.
The most. It just shows you how fundamental they are for basic health, hygiene, and warmth. And so a company like Pair of Thieves, they donate hundreds of thousands of pairs every year. It shows how this simple product can be a vehicle for real charity.
And then on the total opposite end of the spectrum, you have socks as pure self-expression.
Right.
We have to talk about former President George H.W. Bush.
You have to. He was the self-proclaimed sock man. He basically made it okay for socks to be loud, bright, and crazy. He used them as a statement piece.
The louder, the brighter, the crazier the pattern, the better.
I love that quote.
It really freed the sock. And then, for the rest of us, the 2010s gave us the trend of wearing mismatched socks on purpose.
Which is a great excuse for anyone who observes Lost Sock Memorial Day a little too often.
Exactly. Which, brings us to that great mystery. Where do they actually go?
Right. We always blame the washing machine, but sometimes the culprit is a bit furrier.
Sometimes the culprit is sleep on the rug. The canine connection.
Dogs love socks. The sources list a few key reasons. First, it just feels good to chew on them. The texture is great, especially for a teething puppy. It's like chewing gum for them.
Okay, that makes sense.
Second is just boredom. A dog with pent-up energy is going to find something to do, and your sock is an easy target.
And the third reason is actually kind of sweet.
It is. Dogs love the way their owners smell. And our socks, well, they carry a very strong, very personal scent.
So even though we want them clean, our dogs are drawn to them because they smell like us.
It's a sign of affection, really.
Yeah.
A weird, sometimes destructive sign of affection.
So the simple solution is just Keep your socks off the floor.
At the end of the day, yeah. Tidy room, safe socks.
This has been such a fascinating journey. We've gone from Roman actors and matted hair through William Lee's machine and the Queen's resistance, all the way to performance spandex and George H.W. Bush's patterns.
And the big takeaway here is that this simple garment tells a much bigger story. It's about technology, class, science, and even charity.
But I want to end on one last thought from the sources that was really, well, it was really surprising and insightful. It's a spiritual analogy.
Yeah, that was an interesting find. The idea is we spend all this time trying to get our socks to match perfectly, right?
Right. Striving for that perfect pair.
But the analogy suggests that it's the striving itself that matters. It connects back to someone like William Lee, who just kept trying even after the Queen rejected him.
So if we are willing to keep taking those steps forward, even if our efforts aren't perfect.
The idea is that a higher power sort of matches our willingness. It compensates for our imperfect efforts and helps us progress as long as we're willing to keep trying.
It's about matching our effort with forward motion.
Exactly. And that raises this bigger question for you to think about, one that builds on everything we've talked about today. What forward steps of faith or even just effort are you taking each day?
It's a call to look for the deep history and maybe even deeper meaning hidden in the everyday objects all around us. A really profound thought to end on.
Thank you for joining us for this day in His story. May the lessons of yesterday inspire you to see God's hand today and to play your part in His story now. For more faith-based learning, visit ahsworldwide.org, the home school for faith and family.